Namaskar. So we're coming to the end of the Katha Upanishad. Today is the final and the sixth session of Katha Upanishad, the third Valli of the second Adhyaya. We start with the gratitude towards the Lord, with whose grace everything is possible. We pray to this Guru Shishya Parampara through which this knowledge is transmitted through generations to reach us. I pay my respects to my Guruji, Pujya Guruma Samananda Saraswati Ji, for her teachings, her blessings. I'm still a learner and I love to share whatever I learn and understand. We start with a prayer, which is also the Shanti mantra of Kathopanishad. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So, summarizing the first earlier 5 sessions on Kathopanishad, the first session was of the 3 boons of Nachiketa. A lot of temptations were given by Yamaraja to Nachiketa, and he resists all the temptations with a very firm vairagya towards the worldly possessions and the worldly wealth and all the other material objects. That shows his very strong inclination to understand this divine knowledge, Atmagnana. In the second Valli, Yamaraja shows him 2 paths, the Preya and the Shreya Marg, the rarity of this knowledge, the means how this knowledge can be understood, the fruits or the benefits of this knowledge, and the Omkar, devotion. From the third Adhyaya, the actual teachings of this Atmagnana, Brahma Vidya, the self knowledge is started, where in the next 3 sessions, Yamaraja describes in more details about the Atma Tattva, the Brahma Tattva, and from different perspectives, Yamaraja explains. And finally, in this last session, the third Valli of the second Adhyaya, Yamaraja starts with the understanding of the tree of the life, the Sansar Chakra, and how we can go to the root of this tree, which is the Paramatma, the divinity, and that is what it starts with. So, our self as a chariot, this analogy has been given in the previous sessions of Kathopanishad, how we can tame our senses, our indriyas, with our mind, acts as a lagam or the reins of the chariot, where our buddhi is the sarathi, and the owner of this ratha, this body, is our atma, our consciousness. So let us start with the first mantra, talks about the Urdhva Mula, and this talks about the roots, just like the 15th or the Purushottam Yoga, 15th Adhyaya of Srimad Bhagavad Gita starts with Urdhva Mula Madhashakam Ashwatham Prahuravyayam. Similarly, here in the Kathopanishad, also it says that Urdhva Mula Vakshakha Esho Ashwatha Sanatanaha Tadeva Shukram Tad Brahma Tadeva Amrutamuchyate Tasmin Loka Shrita Sarve Tadu Natyeti Kaschana Etadvaitata. Urdhva Mula. Urdhva Mula is the roots of this tree of life, the Sansar Chakra. The roots are Urdhva. Urdhva means higher. They are the highest because the, the, the Paramatma Tattva, the divinity, is the highest. It is like the root of this universe. Avak Shakha. The branches are going down because they are Nikrushta, they are lowest. The Sansar Chakra is the lower planes, whereas the Urdhvagati, the higher planes, is the Paramatma Tattva. Esha Ashwatha Sanatanaha. This is like a Ashwatha tree, a banyan tree, and this is like transient because it gets destroyed. And Sanatana means it's a long journey. One has to come back and go. Life and death is an ongoing journey. Tat eva Shukram. But the Tat Padarth, that Paramatma Tattva, the divine divinity, is Shukram. It is pure, it is very auspicious. Tad Brahma, and that divinity is the all pervading Brahma. Tad eva Amrutam Uchyate, that is that unborn Tattva, that unchanging Amruta Tattva. Tasmin Loka Shrita Sarve, to where, to whom all Everyone, all beings are surrendered to that Adhisthana, that Moola of the universe. Everything, every being arises, sustains, and dissolutes into this Brahman. Taduna atyeti kaschana. No one can surpass the limits. कोई उसका उल्लंघन नहीं कर सकता उसके लिमिट्स का. Etadvaitata. This is the same divinity that you ask for. It is the same knowledge that you ask for. Nachiketa is your third boon. So, to understand the root cause of this universe, the Paramatma, the divinity, the Tattva, the Atma Tattva, the Brahma Tattva is the highest, it is the best because it nurtures the sansara, the tree of life, and this is how the sansara keeps moving. In the second mantra, it says, Yadidam kincha jagat sarvam prana ejati nisrutam mahat bhayam vajramudhyatam ya etad viduramrutaste bhavanti. It says that Brahman is the prana, it is the life of the universe. Not just that the universe arises from the Brahma, but it also works, it is energized by the prana. It's like the life force of the universe. Yat idam kincha jagat sarvam nisrutam. This entire universe which arises from Brahman, it says prana ejati, does all its activity, all its prana is the kriya shakti, all the energize of the movements, the motion, all the action, the karma, everything happens by its prana. By being the prana, this divinity runs this universe. Mahad Bhayam. And everything in this cosmic order works because of the fear of the divine, the Paramatma. Vajramudhyatam. For those who don't work according to this cosmic order, there is a Vajram Udhyatam. The thunderbolt strikes. So there is some kind of a punishment also, system of reward and punishment in this cosmic system. Etad viduhu, one who knows such a divine amrutaste bhavanti, attains a freedom, liberation, or attains moksha. So it's only that we have to know this divinity. It is always there, it is working, but we have to understand, we have to know this to attain the freedom, liberation from all these worldly afflictions. So, who all fears the supreme divinity? Amaraja says, Bhayatasya Agni Tapati. The fire burns due to the fear of this Paramatma, the divine. Bhayat Tapati Suryaha. The Surya also glows due to the fear of the Paramatma, the Atma Tattva. It arises right on time, it sets on time, everything is destined in this cosmic order, and this happens, and everybody works because of in a same in an order due to the fear of the divine, the Paramatma. Bhayat Indra Chavayucha. So everybody, even Indra, the king of all the devtas, Vayu, all the Pancha Tattva, the Pancha Mahabhut, everything, the entire universe works due to his fear. Mrityu Dhavati Panchama. Yamaraja says, even Mrityu, the god of death, all the gods and goddesses, including the god of death, everybody works because of the divine Ishvara, the Paramatma Tattva. What to talk about humans? They all obviously they also work because of the fear that they may get a punishment, and that's why everybody works. And this is a cosmic order. It is always on the run. It is always in order because of the fear of Paramatma, of the divine Tattva. So, what is the gain of knowing this, and what is the loss of not knowing this divinity or this divine knowledge? Iha chet ashakat buddhum. If one knows this divine before one becomes ashakat, ashakat means we become weak, frail, elderly, old age comes. We have to know this divinity. Then prak sharirasya vinstrasaha. Before the body gets destroyed or it gets merged with the eternity, we have to know this. Only those who know this become free. They get liberated from this tree of life. Tata sargeshu lokeshu. But if one doesn't know this divinity completely, then one has to go into this different birth upon birth, different lokas. According to our karma, there is this what we attain in the next birth. And sharirattvaya kalpate, we get another body of another species. We have to keep rotating in this samsara chakra. There is no end to this. But only by knowing this divinity we can be free and become free. So Guruma tells us that human life is this rare and precious chance for us to understand the divine, and we should make the most of every moment that we get to understand this divinity. So, is it possible to have such a knowledge, clear knowledge about divinity in this human life? If that is the question, in the next mantra, the fifth shloka, it says, Yatha adarshe tatha atmani. Just like we can see a very clear reflection in a mirror, which is also, of course, if it is a clean mirror, we see a clear reflection. If the mirror is dirty, we will see a very, very hazy picture. But as in a clear mirror, as we see the reflection, similarly in human life, we can see that kind of a clear reflection of the divine. If our inner mind, our inner soul, our inner antakarana is shuddha, it is pure, then we can have that kind of a divine knowledge very clearly seen, the divinity. Yatha swapne tatha pitru loke. So just as in dreams, we have very, very shady pictures, that something is fleeting. It is not a very clear picture. Nothing is, connected with each other. And similarly, in Pitruloka. Pitruloka is also a higher loka, but even in Pitruloka, there is this, this clear picture of the divinity is not possible. This Atmagnana or Brahmagnana is not possible. Yatha apsu pariva dadrushe tatha gandharva loke. Just as in a constantly changing water, we see a reflection which keeps constantly moving, which is very chanchala. Similarly, in in Gandharva Loka, Gandharva Loka is a loka where there is predominance of dance and music. And in this Gandharva Loka also there is a lot of chanchalta. And that's why this clear picture, reflection of the divinity is not possible in Gandharva Loka. And what happens in Brahmaloka, the highest loka? Chaya tapayo eva Brahmaloke. In Brahmaloka, the knowledge is as clear as a reflection of light. It is seen for a very clean water, how we see the reflection. Yes, it is possible to have the Brahmagnana. In Brahmaloka, there is only some limit which once it is crossed, then one can have a Brahmagnana. But to attain Brahmaloka, Guruma explains to us that to attain that loka, it requires so much of devotion, upasana, not the regular kind of a bhakti or upasana that we do. It requires much higher ahangara upasana and a very higher, skills and levels of upasana to attain Brahmaloka. So, in essence, what this shloka tells us that the human life, our this life, is the best chance for us to attain this divinity. We should try to purify our inner mind, our mirror, so that this Brahma Tattva reflects clearly and we can see the divinity. And we should not keep on postponing this in the next birth, because we don't know where we are or will be in the next birth, which loka, Pitraloka, Gandharva Loka, we don't know, where there is not a possibility of having this divine knowledge. And Brahma Loka is very difficult to attain, and that's why it's only the human life, the human cycle or human life is the best chance. We should keep our priorities correct so that we give enough priority not to just our worldly affairs, but even try to understand the divinity by the spiritual journey that we need to embark upon. So, what is this spiritual journey and how we can pursue, and what are the benefits of the divine knowledge? In the sixth mantra, Yamaraja says, Indriyanam pruthak bhavam udaya astamaya uchayata. Think about all these senses, the 10 senses, the panch jnanendriyas and the panch karmendriyas, all these indriya and their actions. You think about them. They arise and they wane, they are transient, they are naturally attuned outside Bahirmukha. And by scrutiny, we have to keep changing the flow of these senses inwardly. We have to develop a vairagya from this glitter of the world. And all this power of the senses come from the divine. We should try to see this. Pruthak utpadyamananam. All the senses are very different. Pruthak function. They arise differently, they work differently. So, for example, all the 10 senses, the mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara, all these have different functions. The mana does sankalpa, vikalpa, does a lot of thinking, whereas buddhi is the decision maker. It takes the decision, and chitta is the memory power. Ahankara is our kartrutva bhava, our identification with ourself, that I am the doer. All these are the part of the antakarana, but they have different functions depending on what is being used. But I am completely separate from all this, and I am the seer and knower of all these activities, the indriya, mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara, everything I can see, and I am completely unattached to all this. That is my real swarupa. That is what we have to understand. When once rarely a wise person, dhira purusha, can understand, who has lot of patience, lot of courage to do this spiritual journey. And once he knows matva dhiro na shochati, the benefit is that then he has no miseries, there is no shoka, there is no grief, he is blissful, he is paramananda, he is in eternal bliss always, because there is no shoka for this person. So behind all the differences about different indriyas, different objects, different manas, buddhi, all the different people, different everything differences, we have to see that one that is unchanging, that is one which is unattached to everything, and that is the Atma Tattva. In the next two mantras, the Laya Prakriya, the Laya process of dissolution is described as a part of the spiritual journey, and this can be used in meditation. Indriyabhe Pram Manah. Higher than the Indriya, the senses, is the Mana, the mind. Because mind is one, the senses are 10. Senses collect all the pieces of information from thousands and millions of objects around in the world, and then it feeds it to the mind. But there is one mind which takes the information from all these sources and tries to process and do sankalpa vikalpa. Manasaha sattvam uttamam. Higher than the mind is the intellect, the buddhi, because mana avastha is sankalpa vikalpa, whereas buddhi does the decision making. He says, okay, this is the right thing to do, do it. That is the function of the brain, that is the function of the intellect. It is a deciding authority. And that's why it is higher than the mind, because the mind is always in duvida. It is always in two sides. Should I do this? Should I do this? I can do this, but should I do this? It is always in this Satvadadhi Mahan Atma. Higher than our individual intellect is the universal intellect, the Mahat Tattva, which is the Sukshma Sharira, Mahat Tattva, which is the universal intellect, and that is also called the Hiranya Garbha. But higher than this Mahata, Avyaktam Uttamam. Avyaktam is the Avyakta, the unmanifest seed of the creation, which is the Maya, which is also called the ignorance. That is the highest of all this, because that keeps the sansar chakra moving. And by this kind of a laya, just like which helps us in the spiritual journey. So from karya we go to the karana, the cause of this, and then everything dissolutes into its karana, the cause, and that is how we reach to the highest divinity. Next slok also continues this life prakriya, which can be used in meditation. Avyaktatu parah purushaha. Higher than the avyakta, the unmanifest seed of the creation, is the purusha. Purusha is the purnatvat, the one who is completely fulfilled. The Atma Tattva, the Brahma Tattva, the divinity is the Purusha in our Shastra, which is Vyapakaha, which is all pervading, which is everywhere, inside, outside, everywhere, all pervading in the universe. Alingaha, it has no linga, there is no chinna to understand. It cannot be seen, cannot be thought of, cannot be described in words. There is no linga, it is unattached, it has no attributes. Yam gnatva muchyate jantuhu. So this jantu, this being, this jiva is liberated when he knows this. After knowing this divinity, yam gnatva, by knowing this divine, the jiva is liberated. Amrutatvam chagachati, and becomes eternal, because that tattva is also eternal. It is unborn, it is unchanging, there is no death, it is immortal. And that itself, knowing our own eternity, our own swarupa, our real atma swarupa itself is moksha, because that is the tattva itself is amruta tattva. It is unborn, it is eternal, it is unchanging. And in our shastra, a common example given is the ghata and the mati, the pot and the clay. And the pot dissolves, and ultimately what is left is the clay. So pot is just a shape and the size, but the ultimate essence is the clay. And this is how we have to, when we dissolve the pot, the clay remains. In the next, it says, if this divine is alingaha, there is no attributes, then how can it be known? Na sadrashe tishtati rupamasya. That divine cannot manifest. It is form, it has no form, it is formless, it is nirguna, nirakara. So how can it be seen? Na chakshusha paschati kaschana menam. We cannot see it with our own eyes. Our regular eyes can only see the forms. But this is formless. It cannot be seen by any of the senses, not just eyes. It cannot be felt. It cannot be touched. There is no smell. It cannot be described in words. There is no noise. We can't hear it. We can't smell it. Radha Manisha Manasa Biklupto. By that wise man, that Manisha, who has an intellect which guides or it prevails over the mana, that person, by his own introspection, by his own mind, by his own purified mind, not the regular mind. The regular mind cannot understand, but only in purified mind we can see that clear reflection of the Atma Tattva. Yah etat viduhu, one who knows this kind of a tattva, the divine tattva, amrutaste bhavanti, becomes immortal, becomes eternal, because knows that his real swarupa, Atma Tattva, there is no birth, there is no death. And this can only be known by a spiritual journey, by a very calm mind and the intellect. This is the most important sadhana for us. Though it is beyond mind, it has only to be realized by the mind. And this kind of a mind is only that one which is purified by the spiritual journey, by doing karma yoga, bhakti yoga. By doing this purification, we can then understand the gnana yoga. And how can we have this calm and focused mind and intellect? He says, Yada gnanani pancha avatishtante. When all these five gnanendriya, the knowledge senses, become avatishtante, they become steady. There is no movement, there is no flickering. It needs a very long continuous study, a spiritual journey to attain this. Manasa saha, not just indriya, but even the mana also becomes steady. There is no flicker of the mind, it is completely steady. Buddhi jana vicheshtate. The buddhi, the intellect also does not waver, it becomes one with all this. Tam ahu paramam gatim. Then it is said that this is the param gati, this is the highest state of the divine. And the knowledge path, after karma yoga, bhakti yoga, the knowledge path, there are three main sadhana: the shravana, listening to the Vedanta words from the guru, from a learned guru. First Shravana is a Tatparya Nishchaya, and second is to understand this Atma Jnana, Mahavakya Shravana, the meaning of all this. And then Manana, this is done by the person constantly introspecting. There are any doubts that come up, that has to be cleared by logic, which is described in the scriptures. And finally, Nididhyasana, that is internalization of this Atma Jnana by a process of meditation, Vedantic meditation. And this is nothing but these three steps to attain this highest knowledge. And meditation is the most important way to attain this state of mind where there is the indriya, mana, buddhi, and all these are completely without any waver. And this is the only way to identify, have this kind of a directly experience, a paroksha atma jnana. But how is it possible? Yamaraja says, Tam yoga miti manyate. This itself, this state where the indriya, mana, buddhi are all without any flicker, which in yoga is called yoga. And yoga essentially means union with the divine. And the most important foundation of the yoga is the chitta vritti nirodha. All these chitta vritti have to be steady. They have to come out from all these objects. When this tiram indriya dharanam, and one when attains a steady state of the indriya and the mana, everything is very steady. Apramatta tada bhavati. Then that person becomes apramatta. Apramatta means he has no pramada. Pramada is that we start doing something that is not our duty. We do something, keep on doing it without understanding, and this wastes a lot of our time. That is pramada. So once we understand this, then we become apramatta. We are in this spiritual journey to attain the divine. Yogo hui prabhava apyayo. That yoga comes and goes, that waxing and waning state happens with the seeker in the meditation till the seeker reaches the samadhi avastha, where there is everything becomes one and without any flicker. So the steps in attaining Brahma, we have to start with the faith that Brahma is. There is something like Brahma, there is something like the divine. That is a faith that we have to have. Na eva vacha na manasa. Brahma cannot be attained by words, neither by mind. So karmendriya, yato indriya, gnanendriya are not, they cannot attain the Brahma. It cannot be attained by indriyas because there is no vision, there is no smell, there is no touch, there is nothing. Praptum shakyonat chakshusha. Even through eyes we cannot see it because it is formless. This divinity is. So by gnanendriya, by karmendriya, we cannot attain this Brahma. Asti iti bruvataha anyatra. Others say that Brahma asti. Brahma is. There is something called Brahma. There is something like Brahma. There is Brahma. This kind of a faith, a lot of other people have. And this is the beginning point of the spiritual journey, because only with the faith we can embark on this journey and reach to the final destination, and understand that that Brahma itself, I am that Brahma. Katham tata upalabhyate. Only to those who have such a faith, this Brahma can be attained, this Brahma can be known, not to others. And that's why Brahma Asti is the first Paroksha Jnana that is important for us before this Jnana becomes directly Aparoksha or internalized within us. So everything exists due to this Sat Brahma. This is the Brahma is, or Brahma is existent, it is there behind every Upanishad says that behind everything, every tattva, there is a Brahma. That existence is dependent on Brahma because that is the Adhisthana, the foundation of all the objects. In the 13th mantra, the spiritual journey from Brahma Asti to Brahma Asmi, the final destination that I am the Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi, the Mahavakya Updesha of the Upanishad. Asti iti eva uvalabdhavya. Firstly, we have to attain it as Brahma is, Brahma Asti. Brahma is existent, Brahma is there. There is something like Brahma. Tattva bhavena cha ubayoho. And then only we can internalize and realize it as our own self, as our tattva bhava, that aparoksha gnana. Asti iti eva upalabdhasya. For the one who knows it as it is paroksha gnana, tattva bhavaha prasidati. Then only one can realize that this tattva, the aparoksha gnana, and the aparoksha gnana is that I am the witness consciousness and I am the same all pervading consciousness. I am that Atma, I am that Brahma, and Atma and Brahma are both Chaitanya, and that is the ultimate knowledge of the divinity that we need to understand. And who is eligible to attend this Brahma Gnana? Yada sarve kama yah asya pramuchante. When all the worldly desires are relieved, we need vairagya because our indriya senses are bahirmukha. To get them to control and go within, deep within, one needs vairagya from these worldly objects. Hridishritaha. All these kamana, they remain in our inner mind, in our in our inner mind. Atha martya amruto bhavati. That martya, that mortal being who is going to die, is going to get destroyed, he becomes immortal. He or she becomes immortal because he knows the Atma Tattva. But that is only possible when all the worldly desires are relieved. That is the first step. Vairagya is the first eligibility. Atra Brahma Samushnite. Only then one can attain the Brahma. We have to start our spiritual journey with Vairagya. So, to know that I am the Brahma in this human life only, we have to embark on a spiritual journey. Guru can definitely help us to show the way, but it is us who have to walk that path and do the efforts and have patience to do continuous, journey to reach to our final destination. So, when does all these desires vanish? Yamaraja says, when the seed of ignorance is destroyed, yada sarve pravidyante, hridayasya iha granthayah. All these granthi are the knots that we have tied within us. All our misconceptions, our illusions. One is the jada chitta granthi. That is the most important granthi that we have in our inner mind. And all this between the jada is our body, the mind, the senses, all these are jada. And chit means our consciousness. Jada Chit Granthi. So that Granthi, we have interlocked these two. We superimpose both each on upon us. Though we are a Shuddha Chaitanya, we believe that we are this body, mind, senses. And that's why it says Atha Martyo Amruto Bhavati. That mortal being, when all these knots are relieved, he becomes immortal. Etavat Adya Anushasanam. This is what needs to be known. This is the Anushasana of the Upanishad. This is the teaching of the Upanishad. And this is what needs to be known. All these granthis we have to gradually unravel. We have to release ourselves to understand that I am that Shuddha, pure Chaitanya who had tied the knots with his body, sense, mind, intellect, this Sanghata. And this granthi itself is an illusion, but it is very difficult to break because the root or the seed of this granthi is agnana, ignorance. And that is what creates all these innate desires for us to achieve because of this ignorance. And in the 16th, Yamaraja shows the yoga path to attain this Brahma. There are different ways to attain the Brahma. One of them is the yoga marga. Shatam cha eka cha hridayasya nadyaha. From our heart arises 101 nadi, out of which 100 are the other nadi, but one is the sushupta nadi. And these nadis are all the energy, all these through which there is a flow of energy. the power which is unseen. Tasam murdhanam abhinisrutaika. Finally, it leaves through the Sahasra Nadi, that is the topmost and the highest Nadi, after breaking the Shat Chakra, all the 8 chakras of our body. And Pranayam is the one that purifies all these Nadis, and from Ida and Pingala, the energy enters into the Sushumna Nadi to awaken the Kundalini Shakti, that power within us. Tayoho urdhvam ayan amrutatvam eti. When the pran travels from the Sahasrar and achieve them finally immortality by knowing the Brahman, that Vishwat Anya Utramanante Bhavanti. But if any other chakras, if the Jiva is the prana leaves from any of the other chakras, then the Jiva attains other loka, Vishwat Anya, other lokas, and then they have to come back to human life, and this Sansar Chakra goes on. Only the end to the Sansar Chakra is by knowing the Brahman, and for the Yoga Marg, it is through the Sahasrar Chakra. So, how to attain that Brahma, that Jad Chit Granthi, how to release, and we have to know it within us by a process called negation, the Neti Neti. This is a very beautiful way of how Upanishad describes, and how we can do this in our meditation also. Angushta Matra Purushaha. Angushta Matra Purusha. Purusha is the divinity. Divinity is just Angusha Matra, just like a thumb. So, by saying that this all pervading, huge, vast, humongous Paramatma is like a thumb, that what the Upanishad is trying to tell us, that it is so subtle that it is very difficult to understand, and that is the inner soul of our Jiva. Even in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna says that Riddhashya Arjuna Tishtati, I am staying inside the heart of you, and that is where you know, I revolve everybody round and round. It is hidden within, and it can only be attained within us by an inner journey. And the Paramatma guides us, which we commonly say as our inner voice, and that is the seer of all that we are doing. So ultimately, tam swat sharirat pravruhet, and we have to extract that innermost soul from all the peeling of all the layers of our body, one by one, that this is not I am, this is I am. I can see my body, I am not the body. I can see this thing, I am not this thing. Similarly, I can see my thoughts, I am not the mind. I can see my decisions, I am not that intellect. I can see my chitta, I can see my memories, I can visualize. I can even I know my presence in even Jagrat, Swapna, and Sushupti Avastha. So I'm neither the Stula Sharira nor the Sukshma Sharira. I'm beyond this Pancha Kosha. They are separate. So gradually we have to peel off all these layers of our outer existence to unravel Tam Vidyat Shukram Amrutatvam. That innermost divinity, that soul, our real self, is that pure immortal soul. Tam Vidyat Shukram Amrutam iti. That pure consciousness, that our innermost soul, again it says, this is what we have to know. And finally, this is coming to the end of this Kathopanishad. The 2 times the same words are said, that this is what we need to know, our Atma Tattva, the divine Tattva, which is Amrutam, which is unborn, immortal, unchanging, Shukram, which is pure consciousness. And this, we are coming to the end of the Upanishad. The final shloka. Now Upanishad mentions what happens thereafter. Atha mrityo proktam etam vidyam nachiketa. After having known this Atma Tattva, divine knowledge from Yamaraja, Nachiketa, what he says, Krutsam Yoga Vidim Labdvacha, also learns the entire Yoga Vidhi, the process of yoga. Brahma Prapta, he attains a state of Brahma, it becomes immortal. Virajaha becomes pure without any taint of selfishness. Abhut Vimrutyu, who becomes immortal, has won over death, does not have to undergo now life and death cycle. Anyopi evam yaha vidadhati am eva. So anyone else who also attains this knowledge of the divine also will become pure and immortal, and not just Natiketa, but for all of us, the humanity at large, this knowledge tells us that this is what we need to understand, the divine Paramatma, all pervading, part of my own divine self, and me and that universal Brahman, Atman and Brahman is one and the same. There is no difference. Aham Brahmasmi. This is what the Upanishad is trying to say, conveyed through our Guruji. Finally, the Shanti Mantra. Also, it's a Shanti Mantra of this Upanishad. Om. Om is the auspicious name of the Supreme Divinity. Sahanau Avatu. God, do protect both of us. The Guru and the Shishya together pray to the god Sahnau Bhunaktu. We both cherish the fruits of this knowledge together. Sahaviryam Karva Vahi. May we both do our efforts together. Virya Tejasvi now Aditamastu. This knowledge becomes steady. Tejasvi. Whenever I need the help, I can have it. Ma Vidvishamaya. I do not do dvesha or do not have negative feelings for anyone of us. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May peace be hold for the three types of miseries, the dukkhas, the adi bhautik dukkhas, the worldly pains that we have with living in this worldly objects, adi daivik natural disasters, which are the acts of God, and adhyatmic, some because of our disease, the age, the body, the mind, afflictions, all this trividha tapa ki shanti ke liye ye shanti mantra is being chanted. We come to the end of the Kathopanishad. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwarah Gurur Sakshat Parah Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha.